For Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Look up on the wall, there on the floor, under the pillow, behind the door. There's a crack in the mirror. Somewhere there's a hole in the window.
Welcome in on this chilly Tuesday. Going to warm up, though, after this. Maybe the weather will be nice from here on out. The Tigers have decided to keep Penny Hardaway. Jason Munz is going to join us momentarily about that. The Titanic sink of the Grizz continues. More on that later. The Memphis Amateur Sports Hall of Fame was packed last night and full of championship stories. I'll regale some of those a little bit later. The first four begins tonight. Texas, North Carolina State. The big game, UMBC. Remember, UMBC was the team, the first one that was a 16 seed that knocked off a number one Virginia many years ago. And then they take on Howard. And we've got the World Baseball Classic final. Venezuela overcame high-scoring Italy last night. So it's the United States, the favorites tonight, against Venezuela for the World Baseball Classic Championship. We mentioned Ed Scott's going to be speaking in a little bit. Jason Munz is going to have to write about that, so he is kind enough to join us for just about, 10 minutes now before Ed will take to the microphone. Jason, thank you very much. Well, Penny, and as we speculated, as I said, I think deserving so, another year after the off year of this past year. He's staying. The assistants are going. Your thoughts on that development yesterday?
Well, yeah, it was. I would say mostly expected. There's always that chance. You get enough people weighing in, and behind the scenes. I mean, not necessarily on our side of the fence, but behind the scenes, you get enough people weighing in. You get emotions involved. You get opinions involved, and you never know what can happen. But the writing on the wall has been this outcome for a few weeks now. That despite everything, despite the 19 losses and the 7-game losing streak and everything else that went along with this season, as well as some of the issues that have cropped up over the course of Penny's 8-season tenure, they just weren't ready to move on yet. So for one reason or another, they weren't ready to move on yet. So they didn't. But it was clear that, especially after this season, the way this season went, somebody somewhere had to be held accountable, and it wound up, as it usually does in situations like this, it wound up falling on the shoulders of the staff.
Mike Davis, Jermaine Johnson, who I think was the longest tenured, Roy Rogers, gone. Surprising, I thought. Strength coach who's pretty decorated, Todd Forcier, also forced out. Your thoughts on any of those guys?
Yeah, obviously, like you mentioned, JJ's been around a while, off and on for, 6 seasons, I think it is, in various roles. So there was that. Roy Rogers was only here for the one season. Mike Davis was here for 2 seasons. It's I don't know necessarily that it is much like a case-by-case basis as much as it is like there's got to be some, they use the sort of the term cleaning house. You got to clean house in situations like this. And so, it starts with the assistants and, as you mentioned, the strength coach also got caught up in it, Todd Forcier. So, again, this is a business, and this is how it goes sometimes.
I'm pretty sure this is the right math, and every story is different. Make no mistake, but that's 18 assistants in 8 years. So with 9, there will be 4 more. That'll be 22 assistants in 9 years. That is as much turnover as I can recall any program ever having.
Yeah, so by my count, if we're talking about true blue assistant coaches, and we're not talking about like assistant to the head coach or
Well, I counted strength coach in that. It's 17
okay.
if you don't count the strength coach, right? Because it was 14 coming into this year.
Yeah, well, it was 14, and so by the time they fill these 3 assistant coach openings, it'll be 17 going into season number 9. So, it depending on how you slice it, it all, whether you do it one way or the other, it all adds up to quite a bit of turnover, as you mentioned. And I mean, that's not even counting the support staff. That's not counting the director of operations, the director of scouting, the video coordinator. Like there's been a lot of turnover all over the place. And it would be interesting to, go through and look at some of the coaches who've been places for at least 8 seasons and see how it stacks up. But I bet you it's at or near the top of the heap.
It's probably on top of the leaderboard, I would have to suspect. That doesn't count a GM. That's a new position. I'm pretty sure that'll be a position that is filled by Memphis in this go-round. Thoughts on that and who it might be?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that is part of the calculus that got us to the point where Memphis kept Penny Hardaway. So was the sort of you're going to have to implement a general manager, however you have to restructure your staff to get that done, that has to get done. As far as who it's going to be, I mean, it's a tough thing to try to get a beat on right now because there's really not a universally adopted singular definition, like job description for what a GM does. Some focus on staff, some focus on roster, some focus on both, some focus on, being the truly, quote unquote, the general manager of the entire program, where everything falls under their purview, with the exception of coaching, obviously. But then there are some who do dabble, who do have a hand or a say in the coaching side of things. So I think a lot of that is going to, as far as who Memphis is going to get for that, a lot of it's going to depend on how they define it, how they define that role.
There are some people that would say Memphis, because of the new structure and the portal and NIL money, that Memphis can never return to greatness in basketball like it had always had. I mean, let's face it, if you go back to the 50s, there's always been in every decade at least a few years of a top 25 teams that go to the NCAA. But now with this new structure, there is no way you could ever return to those days of glory. And I say that is absolutely baloney. I think it's easier now with the way the setup is because you can legally buy a team. The tricky thing is, you've got to find the person or the group or the masses that will contribute to your NIL money, because if you get enough, you can buy a darn good team. You also have to identify who the players are and the fit that will be perfect for your culture. So there's some trickiness to it, but because of the legality of buying a team, it would seem to me anybody, if they can raise enough money, can become a winner. It starts with that GM, and it's also going to start with NIL cash. Tell me, where do you think Memphis stands in that regard? It was about 4.5 last year, right? Where do you think it's going to be next year?
Yeah, I think it's going to be somewhere in that 5, maybe a tick or 2 higher than 5 this coming season. But as you mentioned, it in this day and age, in this era, it is easier than ever to flip a situation. Now, the inverse is also true. Both things, it's a double-edged sword. It is. You mentioned it's tricky. It is very tricky to keep the train on the rails, because just as easily as you can flip it one way, it can flip the other way. As we saw, obviously, Memphis missed the NCAA tournament 2 years ago. They flip it. They win 29 games, best season in 15 years in the program, and then it flips the other way. 13 wins, 19 losses, the most in 56 years. So it is a really, really delicate thing, which does require someone or someone's being extremely diligent and intentional about literally everything. Like, you have to run things like a well-oiled machine. Everything has to run, like perfectly. There cannot be hiccups. There cannot be missteps, because one thing here and there can create a snowball effect and really set you back in a big, big way. And I think that's part of what happened, last off season, going into this past season, where you're waiting on Dane Danger and you're waiting on PJ Haggerty, and you don't fill all your roster spots. You're still filling spots in September and October, and you're still filling coaching staff positions in September. Roy Rogers didn't get here till September or October. So, it's imperative for everyone, if they're going to be successful, to make sure that they've got all the nuts and bolts tightened super tight, and just make sure everybody's on their P's and Q's from top to bottom.
Well, you got to raise the money, but you got to identify the right people. Look at Kentucky. Although maybe they make a run in the NCAA, but they have a $20 million budget, and what are they, a 7 seed? So and they were nowhere near the top of the SEC. Last thing, real quick, we got less than a minute for you to get out of here. There was American news today. Charlotte coach Aaron Fern fired after going 17-17. He was 9-9 in the league, middle of the pack, won 2 tournament games. I was surprised. Did you see this coming?
I didn't. I wouldn't say that I saw it coming, but I also know that they have a new athletic director, Kevin White, who's come in from Clemson. And, it wasn't as though Aaron Fern was setting the world on fire. Yeah, they finished 5th in the American. They played over their, I think they exceeded their preseason expectations for sure. And I think he's a really good coach. I think he was well-liked and did a good job at Charlotte. But, all bets are off when you get a new athletic director and you're coming into a situation where the sitting coach, A, hasn't been there for, a ton of time, and B, doesn't have, overwhelming success to their name yet. And so, a little bit surprising, but also not really because of the new athletic director.
He is Jason Munz, and he's got to go. We'll be reading to see what Ed Scott's got to say. That'll come your way in just a little bit, and we'll talk more about all of that when we reconvene next Tuesday. Thank you, my friend.
Okay, appreciate it, Wolo.
That is Jason Munz from the Commercial Appeal. Last night I mentioned was really a moving night, I thought, at the Hilton Hotel. It was the 56th class of the Memphis Amateur Sports Hall of Fame. This began as the Park Commission Hall of Fame. It has grown over the years. I think they have now 800 athletes or contributors that have been a part of all this. That could be a coach, a manager, a sponsor. And there were some real notables. 13 inductees in this newest class. Some of the real notables, and I don't have time to mention all 13, but I'm going to mention 4 of them. Let's start with Rachel Heck. Rachel Heck is in a heck of a story, you could say. This is the young lady who went to St. Agnes. She played high school golf for 5 years. So as an 8th grader, she was on the varsity. They won 5 straight state championships. She was the number 1 player, the state champion 4 of those 5 years. Goes to Stanford, wins 2 NCAA titles, 1 single national championship by herself. She rolled in her final one. She rolled in the winning putt in 24 to win the NCAA for Stanford. She was the AJGA Player of the Year. She was the NCAA Player of the Year. I mean, you talk about a national reputation. She won the Annika. She was amazing. And then gave it all up, didn't want to be an LPGA player, and became a lieutenant in the Air Force. And I didn't have a chance to catch up with her afterwards to find out what she's really doing now. She might be in the Air Force, looks fit as could be, and she was amongst the inductees. Desmond Merriweather posthumously was inducted last night. This is the young man that started at Leicester, went to East High School, was a big winner at both of those programs as a basketball coach, high school basketball coach, but he's also famous for bringing his cousin Steve Terrell into the coaching world, and he's won state titles. But probably most famously for getting Penny Hardaway started in coaching at Leicester, then at East. And when Desmond got ill, Penny took over for the team. And as we know, the rest is history. Ben Johnson was inducted last night. The manager of the Redbirds, of course, Memphis born and bred, played on those great Phil Clark Germantown high school baseball teams. Ben Johnson, believe it or not, last year became the winningest Redbirds manager in the history of the franchise. Now, doesn't go back because we're talking just the AAA Redbirds. We're not talking about the Chicks or anything past that. But still, quite the accomplishment. 80 wins last year. Let's hope Ben does it again as he comes back. He wasn't able to come last night because he was in spring training. Yeah, we're almost there with baseball. Opening day right around the corner. And then lastly, I want to mention Jimmy Ogle, the Shelby County historian, but he's been involved with Memphis sports forever. He's a Memphis sports historian to go with Shelby County. Nobody knows more about the city or Memphis sports. Maybe J.J. Ganazzo's in that grouping. But Jimmy Ogle, who also, by the way, was a terrific player at MUS, was part of an undefeated team that Jerry Peters had, and still holds the freshman record for scoring at Rhodes College, and it was Southwestern in those days. But Rhodes, for goodness sakes, they made the NCAA this year. There was no freshman that beat his record. It still stands. Great class. Got to thank Lynn Alford and all the people that put together this incredible extravaganza. There were 300 people there last night. It's always 300 to 500 people. And they're always moving stories. It's really a beautiful event. If you ever have a chance to attend, I would do it. It's usually the Monday right before the NCAA tournament that the banquet takes place. Because of the switcheroo with Mr. Munzie, we will give our picks, our brackets. Got many upsets, Landon Schmidt?
I've got a few.
Do you really?
I do. Not a lot, but
no, I don't. I don't think this is going to be chalky. Look, last year was the first year, and only the second in history, but the first since the Tigers and that group in 2008 that all number one seeds made it. See how many have I got that are number one seeds? 1, 2. I got 3 number one seeds in.
I do too.
So I think it's going to be a chalky one, but we'll see. You got to pick the right ones.
Yep.
That is for sure. And we will get into our brackets in the final segment. Oh, I guess one last thing. The Grizz lose 132-107 to Chicago. They lost every quarter last night. And each quarter, it was by a bigger margin. They got killed inside. Look, they don't have a center. They're not really interested in having a center, except they did get Taj Gibson. The old man, 41 years old, played 8 minutes last night. 2 points, 2 rebounds. They got killed by 10 rebounds deficit there. They got beaten by -9 in second chance. 16. -16 in points in the paint. That is where they lost this game. They did have, what did we say? The available would be like 8.5 was the over-under?
I think that's what
we lose that one if we went over.
Yeah.
They had 11 guys available. Of course, the 8 were still out. And so now they've lost 8 in a row. They are 23-44. They have positioned themselves to be just a game ahead of New Orleans and Dallas for the 13th spot. Can they get below that? Can they get 13? The lower you go, the more ping pong balls you get. Go, Grizz, go. We take a break. When we come back, we're going to Baton Rouge. We'll talk about the SEC tournament, the Ole Miss run, the Florida loss to Vandy, the Arkansas title. I think Cal might be the only 2 guys. Might be the only guy that has taken 2 teams to the SEC tournament championship game and won them. With Kentucky and with Arkansas. I think he might be the only one to have ever done that. We will ask our SEC historian, Ron Higgins, in a minute. I'll let you know this portion of the show has been brought to you by Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Ken knows it's a big deal. You're going to build your dream home. And that's what he's been doing. His dad before him, his son now in the business, 3 generations of garlands that have this incredible capacity to see little details and the big picture all at once. That's why they've been successful for about 80 years in the market. Go to kengarland.com. You'll see what I'm talking about. And then rest assured, because Ken says this in his own commercial, the job's never done. They're with you the whole way. That could be the total dream home build. Maybe they can provide you with land. Maybe you're not sure how to utilize land. They know how. Or maybe it's a remodel. You want a renovation with innovation. They know how to bring in all the modern amenities so you get to stay in the lot that you love. It's simple. Go to kengarland.com. They are the builders of this community. We're back in just a minute. To Baton Rouge we go. Ron Higgins awaits on Wolo and Friends.
Let Bryant Dacus and Brett Norsworthy take you home every afternoon. Sports Time on Sports 56. Weekdays from 3 to 6 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, fellas. Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers. Christmas and Valentine's Day have come and gone, but you know that at some point you'll need to make your favorite lady happy on her anniversary or her birthday, or just because you want her to know how special and important she is. At Russell Brothers, we've been helping gentlemen for over 5 decades do just that. When a gift-giving occasion arises, we're here to help you. Magnificent diamond rings, beautiful necklaces, shimmering gemstone bracelets. So much to choose from, and the possibilities are endless. At Russell Brothers, you can always know that if you surprise her and she'd rather have something else, we're happy to exchange or refund your money within 30 days. Beauty, value, quality, and service are the things that set Russell Brothers apart from other jewelers. Come see us at Russell Brothers Jewelers, 4646 Poplar. Let us help you say you're the best to that wonderful lady in your life.
Spring is in the air, and Bobby J is ready to put you in a new Kia today from Gossett Kia on the Pike. Take your pick, 2026 Kia Sorento LX or 2026 Kia Sportage Hybrid LX. Your choice, $297 a month. That's less than a latte a day for a new ride. How about new 2027 Kia Telluride S front-wheel drive, only $479 a month. All 24-month lease, $39.99 due at signing. And all 2026 EV9s now $12,000 off or 0% for 60 months available. Plus, you always get peace of mind with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Come see Bobby J and get your new Kia today at Gossett Kia, 1900 Covington Pike, online, KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Sorento TG 414140, MSRP 34030, Sportage T 7271780, MSRP 31865, Telluride SVGO 19639, MSRP 45540. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance through KFA. Excludes tax title license. Dealer stock only. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 3/31/2026.
University of Maryland Global Campus offers more than 55 flexible online certificates that provide short-term credentials and real-world skills you can use immediately. With a range of affordable undergraduate and graduate certificates in high-demand fields like business, AI, cybersecurity, data analytics, and healthcare, you can earn credentials quickly to help advance your career. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Mercedes-Benz Van Center Memphis has serious vans for serious work. At 4430 American Way, they are the Mid-South source for cargo, passenger, crew vans, and custom chassis. Need one or a full fleet? New or used? They've got it. With fleet solutions and custom upfits. Certified techs keep you moving with fast maintenance, repairs, and a large parts inventory. Mercedes-Benz Van Center is your Sprinter Van headquarters. 901-237-9302 or sprintervans.com. Mercedes-Benz Van Center Memphis, part of the Tag Truck Center family. Driven to keep you on the road.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and join Ottawild Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Let's head to Baton Rouge. Our SEC historian Ron Higgins standing by. We'll talk bracket here in just a second. But, Ron, let's start with the SEC tournament that was in Nashville. Great crowds, it sure looked like on TV. And great storylines. Ole Miss made a run. Vandy upset Florida. Arkansas wins. And I believe John Calipari becomes the only coach ever to win 2 different SEC tournaments with 2 different schools. How about that? Good morning.
Good morning. They played really well. I mean, I've liked Arkansas all year because, I love Acuff. I think he's great. And they got to help everybody. I mean, their big guys played well. Vanny was kind of overmatched against them. Vanny they're athletic, but not as much as Arkansas is. Arkansas likes to run a lot, and Acuff he made so many clutch shots. I mean, and they put the ball in his hands and let him do his thing, and he creates, and he hits unbelievably tough shots, and that makes him really, really good. So, yeah, it was a good tournament. Ole Miss made a great run. I just, for them to do what they did was, I know their fans are going, where was this all year? Or sometimes it just didn't come together until, the end, unfortunately for them. And they played great. You wish they would have been on the right side of 500 so that maybe, could sneak in and get an NCAA bid, but it wasn't going to happen for them. But, I mean, good for them. They played well and made a good run, and you'd like to see a team like that show up and play hard. But a team that has the 15th seeded team had played like a 15th, didn't play like a 15th seeded team.
No,
the 16th seeded team, LSU, played like the 16th seeded team. They got beaten and were gone. So good for Ole Miss.
What do you think has happened this year with Ole Miss? There is no doubt in my mind that Chris Beard is a heck of a coach. I mean, make no mistake, he's a heck of a coach. But this was a terrible year for them in conference. I mean, the 15th out of 16 teams going into that tournament. He did spend a bunch of money on that French kid to come over and play. I mean, I thought he had put together a decent roster, and this team just sort of fell apart on him in the middle of the year.
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, it's hard to put together teams when you're putting transfers in there the whole time, and everybody does that. It's just, sometimes you have the chemistry builds pretty quick, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you're good early in the year, and then later in the year you're not any good. Like Auburn, for instance, they had 3 wins early that were very good, and in conference they kind of stumbled through conference. So their ebb and flows as far as Ole Miss didn't come up toward until the tournament time. I do think he's a good coach. I think he's one of the best coaches in the league. I mean, there was a reason they had a good, NCAA run last year, and they don't get, he didn't lose his coaching ability overnight. Some of these seasons it just didn't happen for him. I'm sure this is the worst season he's ever had anywhere.
So in the vernacular around here this year, it's called the one-off. Would you think Beard just had the one-off? You don't think he was ever on any kind of a hot seat that this run in the tournament might have saved?
No. I mean, I would hope not. If he was, LSU would be glad to steal another coach.
I buy that. I buy that. All right, since you mentioned Auburn, here's a school that was 7-11 in their conference. 10 of those teams made the NCAA, so it's a tough conference. 14 made them last year. But Bruce Pearl on TV, just crying, to be honest with you, moaning and groaning about how Miami of Ohio gets in. And look, they sent them to Dayton. They were 31-0. Nobody would play them. It's not their fault. They tried to get games with good schools, but nobody wanted to play them. And here's a school that was under 500 by a long shot in that league. They were, 17-16 overall, even though they had a tough schedule, but 17-16. And he thinks they should have been in the tournament?
Well, that's it's daddy fighting for son, which is, well, first of all, it's unbelievable that it's not unbelievable to be allowed on TV because, that makes great, great viewership when something is so wrong, they put it on TV and people are like, God, this is unbelievable. This guy's asking the selection committee why Auburn didn't get in. I wish the selection committee guy said, Bruce, probably because, you quit about a week before the season starts so you're still going to be named coach, and he's not as good as you are. And they're 17-16. And nobody gets in at 17-16, Bruce, unless they win an automatic bid, okay? Sorry.
And let's be honest, Bruce did Now, this isn't the first time this happened. Tony Bennett did the same thing in Virginia, which kind of backfired on Virginia, too, where you wait until right before the season begins, so you basically force the school to hire the guy that you want them to hire. And that happened right here with Bruce Pearl. He waited on purpose to get his son the gig. Now, if you were Auburn, would you keep Stephen Pearl?
No.
You would not?
If you keep him one more year, just to see what he would do with a recruiting class. To say, he wasn't thrown into it. You had time to see what was right and wrong with his team last year. So address his situation. In that sense, maybe I'd give him one more year just to make sure that there'd be, his daddy wouldn't be belly aching and crying about him firing after 1 year and saying, listen, we gave him 2 years. The second year, it's all on him. He had time to recruit. He had time to address situations. And it didn't improve that much or all. So I'm sorry. We're about winning here, and he's not the guy we want. He's the guy you want. So, I'll give him one more year just for a safety measure for the school to say, either he proves himself or doesn't prove himself.
Back to the tournament for a minute. You were so right on. You said that Acuff would win both Freshman of the Year and MVP, and he did. And just to echo your thoughts, I don't know that I've seen as clutch a guy as him in a long time. Of course, there have been many throughout history, but he's amongst the really good ones with that. Every time they needed to score, they gave him the ball, and he either had a spectacular shot or he made a great pass, which ended up being a dime. He was sensational. I think he's going to be a great NBA player as well.
I think so, too. You can't stay in front of him on defense. You think you can, and it felt like anytime he could want to drive, he would get past you. Anytime he wanted to step in the top of the key and hit a long three, he'd hit it. The shot he made off the inbounds play, what was it, the semifinal, in the corner, off balance, about 15 feet, was unreal. Everybody knew he was going to shoot, and the guy played great defense, and he made it anyway. He's going to be a great pro. He really is.
We didn't talk about Vandy's upset of Florida, which was pretty impressive. I've got Florida going to the Final Four. That's how much I think of them.
Me too.
And Vandy was obviously very impressive. This was a great tournament, this SEC tournament, and Vandy was part of that story.
Yeah, Vandy, made a run their own hometown, which was good. They came out and. They just beat the hell out of Florida. I think Florida gets to the Final Four. I think it's one of those nights where, maybe Florida thought they could show up and win by just showing up, and Vandy wasn't having any of that. They came out and jumped on them hard and just kept it going. Kudos to Vandy. But I'm like you. I think Florida gets back there. I can't see them playing that bad again. That's probably their worst game they've played all year. And it could be one of those things where, like, maybe they knew they had a number one seed, and as much as a coach can tell a team, we've got to go out and play hard. Let's play hard, let's play well. In the back of your mind, it might be come to a certain part of the game that you're thinking, we're not going to win this game. We're going to be a number one seed. Okay, let's just get to the end of the game. That can happen. If players can, it can happen.
It can. I agree with you. And then it was a heck of a finish, too. Cal and Arkansas do get by Vandy. It was a great game until the very end. Again, Acuff took over the game and won it. But it is surprising to me throughout all the years that there has been an SEC tournament and all the storied ball clubs and coaches that have gone across the street, that Cal's the only one to take two different teams and win a championship in the tournament. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. Anytime anybody does that, like Kim Mulkey is the only coach to win two national championships at two different schools. It's impressive when it happens. And even you just remember the start Cal had last year.
Oh, I know. Right.
And everybody's, oh my God, he can't coach anymore. No,
he's lost his fastball for sure.
Yeah, and then they rallied and had a really good year. and he's had a year to sit there and recruit and get people he wants, and he had a great year. And I mean, they can make a decent run this tournament, but they could do that too. But I just think Florida's really, really good. They're battle tested. They're good at every position. So they could get back to the Final Four. Yeah, I could see that happening.
I thought Alabama would make a run until the Holloway situation now, where he's been dismissed from the team or removed, I think was the language, from the team for the marijuana possession bust. He's their best three-point shooter. He's their second leading scorer, and he's out. So I originally had them beating Texas Tech. I changed that when I saw the story today. Holloway would not be around for this tournament. That's crazy. Do you write Nate Oates' team off for that?
Yeah, I did. I'm like you. They go out in the second round against Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech, even though they lost was it Toppin, who's an All-American.
Yeah, JT Toppin, right.
But they got other players who've been played pretty well without him.
Well, that's it. They played without him before, and Alabama's not.
Yeah, and I think Texas Tech plays defense, and Alabama looks at defense's risk until the time they take more three-pointers. So, yeah, this is a huge loss for Alabama. If they overcome this, that says something about them. But when you lose a guy like that who accounts for that many threes, and that is their whole system. Alabama's whole system is based on number of possessions and how many threes they can shoot, not defense. So that hurts.
So we're in agreement. Florida could go a long way. We're both in agreement. Alabama's not going to go past the first round. What other SEC team do you think can elevate and go a ways? Let's start with the Volunteers of Tennessee.
They can get to a point. I had them going out maybe Sweet 16, I think. I had them going out. There's just something missing there. They're not as good as they were last year. There's just something missing, and they've been too inconsistent. I have been going out. I'm interested to see what happens if Kentucky gets past their first round. They're kind of flaky too. I mean, the only people I really have, people really have faith in this thing is probably Florida and Arkansas.
I think Kentucky gets past Santa Clara, but that's a tough matchup. And then they got to take on Iowa State, and I don't see them getting past Iowa State. Iowa State is a 2 seed I got in the Final Four, the only 2 seed I got in. So I'm real chalky here.
Well, I mean, it's okay to be chalky because most of the time in the Final Four, like I always said, the first week is magical because there's all these upsets, and that's what you love about the NCAA tournament. But by the time you get to the Final Four, most of the time, all the usual suspects are there. I mean, I can't see, man, it can happen, but I can't see any way Arizona chokes itself out of going to the Final Four and maybe even winning the championship.
Well, I got them beating Arkansas in the Sweet 16. The Tennessee and Kentucky could play in the Sweet 16, and if that's the case, I would have to favor Tennessee.
Yeah, I would too. But it's interesting. Everybody likes Arizona and they like Duke. And I don't think
I'm worried about Duke because of the loss of a key player. But I still have them going. Unless Michigan State were to upset them, and there's plenty of people that have that. How about Texas? We should point out Texas, another SEC team. They are like a trendy pick that they will beat BYU. They'll win tonight against NC State, and I buy that. Then they'll beat BYU, and some people have them playing Purdue after they would beat Gonzaga. I don't think they go that far, but there are some that have that.
Well, I know NC State's been on a down run, but I have faith in. I just have faith in Will Wade.
So you think Texas loses tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's just me. That's my love affair with Will Wade. Basically, saying
Well, we'll find out. We're going to find out in just a few
find
hours.
out tonight.
Yes, sir.
And of course, I think the LSU fans are pulling for him to lose so they can go after him immediately. So, I mean,
You really believe LSU would rehire Will Wade?
Yeah, sure they would. I mean, the president of the university is from McNeese now. The chairman of the board of supervisors is from Lake Charles, where McNeese is. The governor of the state, the nosy little Napoleon who tried to run everything, he wants Will Wade back.
Interesting. Well, we'll keep our eye on that one as well. Ron Higgins, as always, we love having you on. We'll do it again next Tuesday.
All right, well, I will see you.
Thank you. Our SEC historian, Ron Higgins, down in Baton Rouge. We moved the Family Leisure Studios there for a segment, but it's right back here, and you need to get to where the real store is. That's at I-40 and Wooden Road, where there is, in just a week and a half or two, a huge chemical sale. You got to stock up on chlorine, shock, the time will be in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, they still have the floor model spa sale going on where you can get deep discounts on over hundreds of display models that are all set up in stock. Hot tubs, swim spas, cold plunges, they're all there. Huge discounts if you go in. And if you say Wolo and Friends, if you say Lyndon Schmidt, if you say Sports 56, you might get a special gift, maybe even more off the product. Just tell them we sent you. Go see Billy, go see Lindsay. Cash in now at Family Leisure. We take a break. When we come back, we fill out our brackets right here on Wolo and Friends.
Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Available locally on your radio dial as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, it's easy to stay tuned to Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Unlock your new go-to spot, Codes Dispensary in Steele, Missouri, just over an hour from Memphis. When you're ready for a legal, reliable option, they're right up the road. Explore the full menu of top-shelf products in-store and online. Short on time? Order ahead and cruise through the drive-thru for a quick pickup. Stack rewards while you stock up with Club Codes. Earn points for every dollar spent. Codes Dispensary, now open in Steele, Missouri. Supreme cannabis that's worth the drive. Learn more at codesdispensary.com. That's codesdispensary.com.
Guns, guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals and free bore sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at classicarmsofmemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Corky's Barbecue in Cordova.
The tournament is here, and Total Wine & More is your slam dunk headquarters. Whether you're cheering courtside from your couch with crisp craft beers, smooth cabs, or refreshing seltzers, we've got the perfect lineup to keep your watch party winning. And just like your bracket, we've got a lineup full of contenders. Whether you're picking favorites or going for bold upsets, our friendly guides will help you find amazing drinks for every matchup. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
NST's been taking down insurance giants for over 35 years. Big firm power with hometown heart? Yeah, they don't play. It's that combination that has helped them win billions for their clients. NST is the way to go. Call 683-7000.
I got him on the line out there in Gossip Volkswagen Germantown. Hey, Marty McNate, what's going on?
I've got some big news. Volkswagen Driver Days is going on at Gossip Volkswagen Germantown.
And Marty McNate, I hear you've got some incredible deals happening right now.
You heard right, Randy. I got 2026 Jetta S, $277 a month.
$277 a month for Jetta. Hey, what else you got?
How about 2026 Teos S, $327 a month.
$327 a month for Teos S, and I hear you got a Tiguan deal out of this world.
2026 Tiguan S, $355 a month.
Well, it sounds like you got something for everyone.
Come see me, Marty McNate, at Gossip Volkswagen Germantown, 7420 Winchester Road, or shop online at gossipvwg.com. And remember, your future is what you make it.
All 36-month lease, Jetta TM 5137, MSRP 25820, Tiguan TMO 14510, MSRP 32585, Atlas TC 515,398, MSRP 41841, includes all rebates and incentives, must be financed through Volkswagen Credit TF 895, excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details, offer valid through end of the month, dealer stock only.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
It all starts tonight in the first four. We're not going to pick the first four. But here's what we'll do, Landon Schmidt. We are going to do the East to the Final Four, then the South to the Final Four, then the West to the Final Four, then the Midwest to the Final Four, then we'll do the Final Four, each of us. So I'll begin. In the East, I like Duke over Siena. I like Ohio State over TCU, although there's a trendy pick now. A lot of people think TCU is going to upset Ohio State. I'm not a firm believer.
Yeah.
St. John's, I think, over Northern Iowa. St. John's has won like 19 of their last 20, and they just beat UConn by 20. So that's pretty impressive right there. Then I like Kansas over Cal Baptist. I like USF over Louisville, and that's a trendy pick everywhere. And I like Michigan State over North Carolina. I like UCLA over UCF. There's some others that go the other way. I think UCLA is better than UCF. And then you've got UConn over Furman. I then like Duke over Ohio State, St. John's over Kansas, Michigan State over UConn, a bit of an upset. Then Duke over Michigan State, and that one was really tough to pick. That could go either way. I got Duke in the Final Four. If they had Foster, I know that would be good. So I'm a little skeptical, but I'll still put Duke in my Final Four.
Yeah, I would say most of our picks are the same here. I have Duke moving on as well. I'm rocking with Ohio State too. I'm going to go St. John's, Kansas, South Florida, Michigan State, UCLA, and UConn.
Yeah, we're together on that.
Yep, and then going on, I have Duke moving on to face St. John's. Then I have Michigan State moving on to play UConn. I have UConn winning that matchup, and I have Duke winning that one, and I have Duke making it to the Final Four.
Okay, so we have the same road. Really, the biggest difference is I have Michigan State over UConn, and you've got it the other way, and it could go either way. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the South. I've got Florida to win whoever they play in the play-in. I've got Iowa over Clemson. I've seen a lot of people go the other way. I've got Vandy over McNeese. I've got Nebraska over Troy. You know, the folks, a lot of people are not sure about Nebraska. I'm pretty sure about Nebraska. I've got VCU over North Carolina. If Wilson was playing, it would be a different story. I've got Illinois over Penn, St. Mary's over A&M, and I've got Houston over Idaho. I've got Florida over Iowa. I've got Nebraska over Vandy. I've got Illinois over VCU. I've got Houston over St. Mary's. Then I've got Florida over Nebraska, Houston over Illinois, and I've got Florida, another number one seed, into the Final Four.
Okay, I'm with you on most of that. There's only a few changes with me. I've got Florida beating whoever they play. I went with Iowa as well. I'm going Vanderbilt. I too am also going Nebraska.
Wow.
I'm not going to go with VCU. I know that's been the most popular upset. I think is a lot of people picking VCU over North Carolina, but I think North Carolina gets it done at least against them. I'm going to go with Illinois, St. Mary's, and Houston. Then I have Florida beating Iowa. I have Vandy beating Nebraska, and then I'll have Illinois beating North Carolina, and I have Houston beating St. Mary's. So I'll have Florida moving on over Vandy. I'll have Houston moving on over Illinois.
So we have the same Elite Eight. Go ahead.
We do, and then my difference here is I believe Houston makes it back into their Final Four.
I'd love it.
That is my 2 seed.
I would love it if that were the case. I love Kelvin Sampson. I love how hard his teams play. Moving to the West, I have Arizona beating Long Island. I've got Utah State beating Villanova. I believe in Utah State, at least as far as that goes. Wisconsin will beat High Point, much to your chagrin. It'll be Arkansas over your Rainbows of Hawaii. You know, there's this trendy pick with Texas. I don't believe in it. I think Texas could win against NC State, but I think BYU will beat them. Gonzaga over Kennesaw State. Miami over Missouri. And that was a tough one. I think that's going to be a heck of a game, but I'm going to give Miami the slight edge. And then I've got Purdue over Queens. I've got Arizona beating Utah State. I've got Arkansas beating Wisconsin. I've got Gonzaga beating BYU. And I've got Purdue beating Miami. I then have Purdue beating Gonzaga, Arizona beating Arkansas, and Arizona is my third number 1 seed in the Final Four.
All right. My side over here, I'm rocking with Arizona as well. I'm going to go Utah State, too, unless proven differently. I think they're a really good team. I think they're going to win. I'll go Wisconsin, and then I am putting my Hawaii. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go with Arkansas. I'm going to go with Arkansas there.
That would have been the Homer call of all time. I think it's like a 13.5-point spread, by the way.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. No, I have more reason than that. Arkansas is going to move on against them. It doesn't matter who BYU plays. I'm going with BYU. I'm going to pick Gonzaga. I'm going to go with Miami and Purdue to move on. I have Arizona beating Utah State. I have Arkansas over Wisconsin. I have BYU moving on against Gonzaga.
Wow.
I have Purdue moving on against Miami. Arizona and Arkansas. I think Arizona advances. And then BYU and Purdue. I don't know. I'm going to rock with BYU here.
Wow.
I think BYU
long
makes
way
it
with
to
BYU.
They do go a long way, but their journey ends as Arizona makes it to the Final Four.
All right, so we both agree on Arizona and Duke. We differ on Florida and Houston. And then our final region, the Midwest, I've got Michigan beating whoever comes out of there. That's the 16 seed. And, UMBC's a number 1 seed killer. I've got St. Louis to, in a slight upset, beat Georgia. I've got Texas Tech over Akron. I've got Alabama in this round to beat Hofstra. I've got Tennessee over either SMU or Miami of Ohio. And I hope it's Miami of Ohio. They deserve to be in the real thing here. I've got Virginia beating Wright State, Kentucky over Santa Clara, and that game will be pretty close. And then Iowa State over Nolan Smith and Tennessee State. Then I like Michigan over St. Louis. I like Texas Tech over Alabama. I think Alabama, I would have picked them, but without Holloway in there, Texas Tech has played without Toppin for a while now, and they've gotten this far. Alabama will be playing their first game without Holloway, their second leading scorer. I think their best 3-point percentage shooter. I think he's like 44%. That hurts. He's gone, so they will be gone. I like Tennessee over I'm sorry. I like Virginia over Tennessee, and I like Iowa State over Kentucky. Then I've got Michigan over Texas Tech. I've got Iowa State over Virginia, and here's where I've got my 2 seed. I have Iowa State in the Final Four.
All right, so I have a lot of similarities in the first round. Michigan over whoever they play. St. Louis over Georgia. I'm rocking with Texas Tech as well. I've got Alabama moving on. Tennessee, I've already solidified. I think Miami, Ohio is going to be in that spot, but I have Tennessee. I have Tennessee winning that matchup regardless. Then I'll have Virginia over Wright State, Kentucky, and then Iowa State. So then I have Michigan moving on against St. Louis. I have Alabama moving on against Texas Tech, Virginia moving on against Tennessee, and Iowa State over Kentucky. Then I have Michigan moving on against Alabama. I'll have Iowa State moving on, and then I have Michigan making it to the Final Four as my last number 1 seed making it.
Okay, so I have Duke in the East, as do you. I've got Florida in the South. You've got Houston. I like Florida into the semifinals. How do you have that?
I have between Duke and Houston, I have Houston making it back to the big dance.
So you've got them. Okay. Then I have Arizona, as you do. I've got Iowa State, and I've got Arizona in the semifinals.
I have Michigan moving on against Arizona.
You have Michigan. Okay. So then I have Arizona and Florida, and I have Arizona as the winner. You've got Houston and Michigan, correct?
I do.
So we have 2 different final games. That's interesting. And who have you got as the champion?
I am rocking with Michigan to win it all this year.
Okay, Michigan.
I like what they've done on the road all season long. I think they're a really top contender, great at shooting. They're in the top 25 in defense and offensive production. They've got a really good team. A lot of these people are really good, but I think Michigan can get it up.
So you got a Dusty May guy.
I do.
Winning the whole thing. I guess if we looked at this now, what is the biggest upset we have? I mean, there's going to be some bigger upsets. We're not. I've gone with USF over Michigan State, and I think that's the one that most people have picked. I mean, if you're looking for, a lot of people go 12-5 these days.
Mm-hmm.
The USF and the Louisville. I mean, the USF Louisville, that is 11-6.
Mm-hmm.
So it usually comes a little bit lower with the 12 and the 5. But I think that's the biggest popular upset pick right there.
I think that and VCU over North Carolina. But with North Carolina's injuries, as you've mentioned, I don't think a lot of people are counting that as much of an upset.
I have not seen very many people pick Duke to win the national title. Some of that has to do with the injury.
Yeah.
But they are the number one overall pick, which was interesting to me that this committee did not punish for losing key players like committees in the past have with star players.
Yeah. I think my biggest surprise for my bracket was having BYU go to the Elite Eight.
I do think that is big. That's a 6 seed going that far. And that's a BYU team with Dabansa, who's a terrific player, but they have not been consistent. That's the problem I have.
And my big hope for them is that they lock it in for the tournament time and really play just terrific basketball going all the way through.
It's interesting you mentioned the VCU North Carolina. That's another 11-6. I don't think either of us, and I haven't seen very many 12-5 upsets like you normally get.
No, I've been trying to look because there's always one, isn't there? There always feels like there's one. I think most people have kind of been pointing to that High Point Wisconsin game as being one. I just don't see High Point overcoming Wisconsin in that 12-5 matchup.
I don't either. I think Wisconsin is just too strong, too physical for that team. All right, it all begins tonight. I do think. I think Miami of Ohio is going to beat SMU. I'm pulling.
I hope
for
so.
them. That'll be tomorrow night. Tonight, the big one is Texas NC State. I kind of like Texas in that game.
I'm rocking with NC State on that one.
All right. You and Ron Higgins. That'll do it. Our picks are in, and this show is in the books. Tomorrow, the usual. We got Dennis Philippi. We got Joe Dank, and I think we've got a round table. It'll be fun. We'll see you tomorrow. Johnny Radio's right around the corner. Have a great day, everybody.